Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I'm back with another bomb track. I'm back from holiday, and straight away this computer came in. I got an email while I was on holiday about this. It's a gaming PC that was damaged in transit, and so I have been charged to find out what's wrong with it. Apparently it doesn't turn on. So you can see we've got a big old dent in the top here, and there's another dent here. This Fantex P400, this case. And apparently it doesn't turn on or it doesn't post. Now, I will do a very just basic glance at everything before I try and turn it on, just to make sure there's nothing screamingly wrong. Everything's on properly, the connectors are all in. Yeah, so everything seems to be plugged in just fine. So yeah, okay, let's try turning that on. The CPU cooler is the wrong way around. I don't just mean the logo is upside down, but the fan is blowing in that direction, which is a bit of an odd choice. I'm sure it works just fine. It's going against the airflow because these front intake fans are going in that direction. So the airflows are opposing at the moment, so it's not particularly efficient, but that doesn't stop the computer from working. So let's turn the damn thing on. All right, so we have power. Doesn't look like it's going to post. Have I got a beep speaker here? Yeah. Right. No beeps. I don't think I saw any diagnostic LEDs light up. I'm just going to turn it off and on again just to see if it does anything else. And it looks like it's not responding to the power button. No, holding the power button is not turning. Holding down the power button doesn't turn it off. That's not a good sign. Turn it off at the power supply. I'll turn it on one more time just to check for diagnostic LEDs, but I'm fairly certain that nothing popped up. Let's try it again. No, nothing at all down there. Nope. Okay, right. The mystery is afoot, folks. I'm going to roll the intro and we'll start taking this thing apart and seeing if we can determine what's wrong with it. See ya after the cuts. So knowing that this thing has been bashed about, I'm going to move directly to taking things apart. We could start, reseating the RAM, doing a BIOS reset and stuff like that. But when you know that the computer has been bashed about and that there could be loose wires, we kind of need to make sure that everything is seated correctly anyway. So I'm going to go straight to taking things apart. I'm going to take the graphics card out, and then I think I'll take the graphics card out just to get that weight out of the way and look inside. Then we'll take the back cover off and just check the power supply. But I think I'm going to take the motherboard out. I think I'm going to go all the way down to bench and see if it works, and then start reassembling from there. And good chance maybe it's just a loose connection somewhere. Right. What are you? That's a 3060 12 gig. God, that's enormous for a 3060. Very well. 3060 12 gig. We've got a Strix B550F here, which is a really nice late stage AM4 motherboard. Big fan of this guy. And we've got some nice Corsair RAM there as well. What RAM have they got in there? Whoop. That is 16 gigs, 3600 CL18. So yeah, nice RAM as well. It's a nice build, I like it. I've said in previous videos before that that changing lots of things at the same time is not a good idea because you won't know what it is that fixed it. But like I said, in this instance, we kind of just want to see if the thing works anyway. So I'm just going to press on. Okay. Back screws are all mangled. Corsair RM650, nice power supply. And all the modular connectors are in properly. Is that guy in? Yeah, that's in. This is all fine back here. Got some fan splitters and extensions and stuff. Nothing unsurprising. It's a fairly clean meta build. So yeah. The case is beaten up but functional. You know, it's not bent, it's just a bit dented. I think it'll be up to the customer if they want to do anything about that or not. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's what I spotted. That screw in the bottom right is extremely loose. That's not going to stop it from posting, though. Okay. I'm going to get this motherboard out, and we'll put it on the bench and see if it posts, and we'll move forward from there. Oh. Okay, that looks fine. Motherboard was a little bit stiff coming out, so there's might be a slight bend in the chassis, and you know that might have then put a bit of a bend in the motherboard. However, again, I'm not seeing anything screamingly wrong with it. Back of the motherboard looks fine as well. There's rarely anything to see on the back of a motherboard, but I always check just in case. Right, let's try that again. So, power supply on. We've got RGB fluorescing there. And let's hit the power button. Boop. Right, we've got lights and fans, but again, no diagnostic LEDs. Oh, the camera's covering them up. Whoop. Oh, the cable. Yeah, again, no diagnostic LEDs at all, so not expecting this to post. No. Alright. So I'm going to pop the graphics card out, and I'm going to reset the BIOS. Oop. Take you out. Right, so now we're going to start on the basics and work our way up. While I've taken the battery out, we'll just quickly check what level it's at. So it's 3.3 volt max. We're looking for anything above 3.0. 2.9, it's a bit low. So I don't think I've ever seen a flat BIOS battery stop a desktop motherboard from posting. Laptops, that can cause problems. On a desktop, it just means it's not going to keep time properly. However, 2.9 is flat, so I'm going to change that. So we'll stick a fresh one in there. Boop. Might ditch the graphics card in a minute because we're not getting as far as detecting a graphics card, so I can just get this out of the way. Right now, to be honest, all I really want to see is just some diagnostic lights. So let's try it again. Still nothing. So other signs that I'm looking for as well is I've just done a BIOS reset, so I kind of expect it to power cycle at least once while it RAM trains and stuff like that. And we're not seeing any power cycle. I'm not seeing the fans change speed any either. As it sort of starts up and the thermal control kicks in, I'd expect to see the CPU fan slow and then speed up, or speed up and slow down and stuff like that. These are little signs you can look for before you get a picture that start telling you if the board is doing something, but we're not seeing any of those at all, which to me says that the motherboard is just brain dead at the moment. There's no one, the lights are on, but there's no one home here right now. So yeah, not a good sign. Okay, let's turn that off again. Sometimes post can take a while. Like, I do say to people that you should wait at least a minute before you decide that something isn't posting. But also, I would say wait a minute if you've seen some kind of sign of life, you know, a diagnostic LED, you know, the power cycle, the fan speed changing, something to tell you that it's doing something. But we're not seeing anything right now from this that makes us believe that it's even trying. So let's pull that out, get this out of the way. I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to reseat the CPU. Whoop. Some people at this stage might be going, RAM, reseat the RAM, and I'm like, I guess I'll do that as well. Right, and the CPU is a 3600X. Classic gaming CPU. Still a good boy. Nothing screamingly wrong there. No bent pins or anything like that. Not that we would expect there to be for this kind of damage. So I'm just going to... I've taken that out and I'm just going to put it straight back in again now. Now the motherboard does know when the CPU has been taken out, so just taking the CPU out and putting it back in again should elicit some kind of response. Oh yeah, and for good measure as well, I'll just reseat the RAM. This doesn't feel like a RAM issue to me, but I'm basing that just on gut instinct. And everyone's gut instincts are a little bit different. Whenever I'm doing these no-post videos, there's always folks in the comments that are just like, I would have done this first, and oh, I could tell that it would have been that. And I'm like, sure, that's fine. As long as we all get there eventually, you know. If you manage to do things in a very specific order that got you there 5 minutes quicker than me, cool. Good for you. But yeah, as long as we check everything, that's what matters. Right, I'll just put that on slightly sideways, just so there's just a heatsink sitting on top of it. And we'll plug in the 24-pin cable and see what it does. Boop. I'm not even going to bother with the graphics card right now. Or anything else for that matter. We'll just power it on and see what it does. Right, power. RGB fluorescing there, so we know that it's got standby. And, I'm going to plug in this fan just so we can tell that it's actually on. The fan won't light up because I haven't plugged in the RGB, but just the spinning just lets me know that stuff is happening. Right, no change. The diagnostic LEDs aren't coming on. I'm going to grab a different CPU and RAM while I wait for a moment. Right, that's a no from me. Turn that off again. Right, rather than putting a different RAM and CPU into this board, I'm going to start by moving the RAM and CPU from this motherboard into a test board, because this feels like a dead motherboard to me. And dead motherboard is the most likely culprit for a computer that's been bashed about as well. Because if we think about the damage, the motherboard is the thing that will have taken a bend or a twist or whatever. There's not really any meaningful reason for RAM or the CPU to have been damaged by impact damage and that kind of thing. So, which is not to say it's impossible, it just seems unlikely to me. So I'm going to go straight to a different motherboard first. And if we do find that it's a motherboard problem, then we can start looking at things. We can try reflashing the BIOS and that kind of thing. But yeah, let's just Oh. How did that happen? Might have just spotted it. How did that happen? The SPI header is mangled. So this is an SPI header. The BIOS chip is there, that WinBond chip. So the SPI bus is how the PCH is communicating with the BIOS chip. This header here gives direct access to that bus. And you can actually reprogram the BIOS through this header. But also, as such, all of these pins, if those are all touching, then it's going to short out the SPI bus that the BIOS is communicating on. So I'm just carefully just prying these pins apart. Doesn't really matter if this header is all a little bit mangled because it's not used in any general sense. I'm planning a video to talk more about these headers and how you can use them to reprogram BIOSes. There we go. Okay, right, those pins aren't all mashed together. Let's just try that again and see what happens. I'll put the customer's CPU back in. And so as not to change everything all at once, I'm going to put both memory sticks back in. And let's just give it some power and see if it does something. Right, just a quick power on test. There it is. Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm turning that off again. I think that came up on camera. But yeah, immediately we had a diagnostic light. I'm going to put the cooler back on and actually go for an actual post on this. I think that was it. I think we just found it. And I'm going to make the stylistic choice of putting the cooler on the correct way up. And I have a theory on what happened here, which I will share with you in a moment once we've confirmed that it actually works. I'm about to Sherlock Holmes this. And I don't mean Sherlock Holmes from the books where it's all extremely logical deduction. I mean Sherlock Holmes from the BBC series where he magically solves the mystery by having information that had not been shared with you. So let's see if it works. Right. Okay, everything's plugged in, so we're expecting to get a picture this time. Power on. Fan has changed speed. It's going through the diagnostic LEDs, and that's a VGA light and a boot light. No, it's power cycling first. Post beep. Ugh. That didn't look very good. New CPU detected, no keyboard detected. Let me get a keyboard. F1 for setup. Don't like that green stuff. Don't like any of that. Whoops. That changed when I bumped the graphics card then. This might clear up just by reseating everything. Ooh. Yeah, that's a bit rough. I think I'm going to get it fitted back into the case before I address this. This is going to be the graphics card, if anything, and there's a lot of dust on the back of this, so this might clear up just by dusting it as I reassemble. However, the computer now posts, the actual fault is solved, so let's start reassembling it and see if this just comes good. And we'll see if we have to worry about that in a minute. I've seen graphics cards do scary stuff like that before, and after just like a reseat, they're fine. So yeah, that's not panic mode yet. Just because we've seen that, we don't immediately be like, oh, that's toast, you know. I've seen graphics cards do scary things and then they're actually fine. So yeah. Right. So what do I think happened on this? Well, when the customer brought the PC into my shop, it still had a bunch of packaging in it. They brought it in a shopping bag. However, around it and inside it, they had bits of cardboard and such. So they had packed chunks of cardboard around the PC in the shopping bag. And inside, there were some bits of cardboard, like round bits, and a towel had been stuffed in around the graphics card to support the graphics card. But there was some cardboard also just in the PC. And I think when the cardboard was put in there, it just mashed that pin header. That's what I think happened, because I can't see any other reason why those pins would have been mashed. But if you were stuffing a bunch of cardboard into there to keep it safe, yeah, that'd do it. Right, fingers crossed for no artifacts here. Place your bets, everyone. Is my afternoon ruined? I say my afternoon, it'll be the customer's afternoon if they need a new graphics card, but okay. Power supply on. Main power. Right, we're going through the post lights. Let's see what we get from the capture card. I've seen this be capture card artifacts, but quite frankly, I'm grasping at straws. That looks like VRAM to me. I reckon the graphics card has taken a bash and we've got cracked solder ball under one of the VRAM or something like that. Yeah, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop another graphics card in and make sure that the fault goes away, because that will confirm that it's definitely the card and not the PCI Express socket or something unexpected. So let's just lob this guy in. This is my dinky little 1060, my EVGA 1060. And yeah, no artifacts now. Yep, that's a shame. That's a really nice 3060. So this kind of damage on a graphics card is possibly fixable depending on the extent of it. Well, it is absolutely fixable. It's just whether it's fixable economically or not. Because if that cracked solder ball is, for example, under the GPU, you're going to need someone who can remove the GPU, reball it, and put it back on, which is probably not really worth doing for the value of the graphics card unless you're a superstar who just does that casually. However, it's more likely that it's just one of the VRAM chips, or maybe one or two of the VRAM chips closest to the PCI Express card edge. And there are apps you can use that help isolate, because the pattern on the screen will generally indicate which VRAM chip it is that is faulty. So you can look at these patterns to determine which one it is and which one you need to reflow. So this is something that I will be looking into, but probably in a future video. For the time being, my objective is to get this computer working, and given that it's being covered under insurance costs, we're just changing the graphics card. So yeah, in any case, my job here is done. We have diagnosed the computer. We had some bent pins on the SPI header that were preventing the system from booting. That's as simple as just straightening the pins out. However, the graphics card, that's obviously taken a big knock, and it has damaged something in there. So most likely the card has bent slightly in the socket, and that has just probably cracked a solder joint under some of the VRAM chips on there. and that's what's killed that. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.